Welcome to Biztechs C-Suite Conversation Show. Today we have Denise Kee, the CEO of Xtremax, as our guest today. Founded in 2003 in Singapore, Xtremax Private Limited is a technology professional services company that provides cloud and digital transformation solutions to its customers. Now, to tell us more, Denise, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Brian, and thanks for having me.
Now, Denise, tell us a little bit about the company and its history.
Well, it started in 2003, but the thing is, right, you have sort of introduced our company so perfectly. I don't know how to do better than that. But then we are based in Singapore, and we have been around since 2003, like what you said. And more recently, right, in the last 5 years, right, we are known to be the cloud partner of the Singapore government. Because when the Singapore government sort of like rolled out their cloud first policy in 2019, they selected Xtremax to actually build the whole entire cloud platform so that 70% of the application from the current data center can move to the platform that Xtremax has built. And so that sort of like cement our position as a cloud leader in Singapore. And ever since then, right, we have done a lot of work with like organizations whenever they want to move to the cloud, and they will come to us and say, how do I move to the cloud? And how does it really benefit me? Can you explain to me how do I do that? So we have done a lot of work, right, in helping, right, the government agencies and organizations to move to cloud.
And so this is quite a significant thing because, and I must add to the audience that your contract has also been extended this year.
There are many different types of contracts.
Okay.
And one of the biggest one was the one that we did for the Singapore government, which is the content website platform, which is actually to host all the government websites. So we have about 100 government agencies. So they have like hundreds of websites that they need to use to actually communicate and engage the public citizens. But in order to do that, right, they also had to deal with a lot of other security vulnerabilities that are found in the world, you know. It's always a constant battle against that. And hence they also come to Xtremax. How can we do this? And how can we do it well on the cloud platform?
So in other words, in addition to the websites as well, you provide other services like cybersecurity.
Yes, that's one of the things that we do. Because going to cloud is not just about storage and then compute. It's about how you piece together the different services that are available on the cloud platform, including AI. I mean, AI is very big now, but a few years ago, right, we actually have a project to help the Ministry of Health to actually process their medical record claims. So a person, right, goes to the hospital and they needed to actually do a surgery, and then they will do a claims. And this has been done very manually without AI. And so we brought in AI a few years ago, right, to actually help them process and also to reduce fraud.
And that's a big issue with medical claims in general, and that's across the world.
Yeah, you know it, Brian. So in order to increase the efficacy of any health programs, right? And one of the key things is that, right, I channel some money and I want to channel it to the right use and to the right people. And so fraud, if there's fraud in a system, right, that will actually reduce the efficacy. So our system that we built for Ministry of Health, right, actually helped to address that.
Now, moving to the cloud has been something that has gone on for quite a number of years in the commercial sector, but in the government sector, Singapore is probably ahead of the curve. In fact, in 2023, Singapore is predicted really as now the most advanced public cloud market in the region. How do you see the rest of the region shaping up in terms of adoption, particularly in the government sector?
I think in Southeast Asia, so let's not talk about the world, but just closer to home, just Southeast Asia. And of course, right, you have seen how the Singapore led the cloud innovation with the launch of the cloud first policy in 2019. And you say that, right, oh, commercial has actually gone ahead of government. But if you really look at how they have gone to the cloud, you will see that commercial organizations, right, when they go to the cloud, it's very piecemeal. Okay. Oh, I have this application, let me move to the cloud. And then I have this other application, and then let me move to the cloud. And for the Singapore government, right, they think that cloud is really the backbone of their digital transformation power. And he needed to think of a framework in which, right, I enable, right, a lot of different government agencies with a lot of their government application to go to cloud at the same time, and then build up common services. And so that's where actually Xtremax actually helped them to build the government commercial cloud platform. And then so that it enables, right, government agencies to go on board the cloud very easily and in a very secure manner. And then surprisingly, in the last few years, right, because the Singapore government has built that cloud platform and then enable 70% of their application to go on cloud so easily within like a year, a lot of the Singapore, the governments in the region, as well as organizations, are starting to look at how did the Singapore government do that? What was the concept behind this particular like cloud platform? How do you enable, right, all the applications to go on board so easily? And then because of that, right, digital transformation can happen at the fastest pace. So when the government agencies around the world sort of like talk to us about what is the model that Singapore government use, right? We sort of explain to them, actually, to develop a city, you need a city planner. You need a city planner to think about, okay, this is my residential building, and then there will be a site that will be focused on just residential, and this is where a school will happen, and this is the roads and all that. So you need somebody to really think about the planning of the whole entire city so that the GDP can grow, can increase, city can flourish, and then there's no traffic jam.
Okay, so Denise, I want to stop you here for a second and ask you this. Putting the lens of the city planner, before the city planner is empowered to do planning, the city planner has to look at what is existing, and to get the right budgets and so forth, the city planner has to therefore promise that there's going to be a better solution that are delivered at a lower cost and at more efficiency. How are you able, what sort of savings and efficiencies were you able to deliver with your new solution versus what was previously done in all those websites that were probably on-premise?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. Maybe to answer the question, right, let me give you a context about our view of the landscape of the tech innovation. And I want to quote like McKinsey in this one. Companies that prioritize digital transformation are seeing revenue growth that's 5 times higher than those that don't. So I'm quoting McKinsey here, but the thing is you can go out there and just go and take any piece of like research. You're going to find the same old story. Digital transformation leads to revenue growth. Digital transformation is better business. And it's so much so that at one point, right, you were seeing a lot of organizations coming out to say, hey, I'm not a bank, I'm a tech company. I'm not a supermarket, I'm actually a tech company. So when you're thinking about going to cloud and planning for all the applications to go to cloud, right, there has to be a business driver. Why do we want to go there? So one aspect of things is that you can think about, cost of ownership is going to be lower if you go to cloud, well, I don't have to pay everything upfront, I pay per use. And so those are the benefits that can be brought upon if you use cloud properly. But however, when I look at the Singapore government and a lot of my clients who are going to cloud, right, they are no longer talking about total cost of ownership. They're really desperately wanting to be on a path of digital transformation so that they can keep pace with their competitors, so that they can open up more markets, so that they can transform their business. And hence, right, when the Singapore government say that I'm going to take this very big step, I'm going to move all this application to cloud. I'm going to try to enable all my government agencies, right, to take digital transformation seriously, and they have to use cloud.
Okay, but Denise, then what you did, and that's should be a really interesting case study when you're doing this on such a scale with so many agencies, 100 agencies and stuff like that, and you did it just over a year, which is an amazing, mind-boggling achievement for someone like me who's worked in IT before. What were the key challenges and lessons that you learned from that you can perhaps then apply when you're consulting for other governments in the region?
Well, many people ask me that question in various ways, but you asked it in a very interesting manner. And to answer that, right, maybe we look at the ethos of Xtremax. We are not a very big company, but definitely not one of the global companies, right? And if you look at it, this very big project that's done by the government, Singapore government, shouldn't it be given to one of the global companies? And what I will say is that when we come in, and we have never focused on our competitors. We have never taken on the path of, okay, our competitors are doing this, and hence I have to go in and look at the markets that my competitors operate in, and then take some of their success templates and use it for us. So we have always looked at the problems that our customers are facing. What is it that they want to achieve, and what problems they are facing? And then look at the problems and then come up with a solution that's fit for them. And in that way, right, innovation sort of like emerge. So the way that we built the cloud platform for the Singapore government in this case, right, or the content website platform for the Singapore government, right, is very, very different, and is one of the kind, I mean, maybe in the world, but definitely, right, I've surveyed in the region, yes. So it is because, right, we just focus on what the client want to achieve, and how should I go about doing it, and what's the fastest possible way that I can help them to get there. So, and I think that is what makes us very unique in our approach to solving the problems of our customer. And of course, right, one great tool that we have is actually the cloud that's offered by AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud, because they already have a lot of tools and services there. And we just go in there, understand the range of services that they have, and be the glue that glue up different services to form a very unique end product for our customer.
And that's really, if you look at it now, the crux of it, what I see, which is really interesting, is, which you're alluding to, is also this. In governments across the region, there's probably no one-size-fits-all solution. Each country will have their own needs, which may not be similar. While the base technology would be the same, the needs of each country would be very different. And you would probably then, in the markets that you operate in, tailor different solutions to each of those markets.
That's correct. But the basis in which we delivered it, right, is really just focusing on the customer problems. And maybe I give you one example on one of the biggest like cloud platforms that we have done for the Singapore government. So, and just now I mentioned content website platform. And we also mentioned that yes, we renewed, but the content website platform was really developed in 2016. And recently, I think this year, we launched the second version, the 2.0 version. So what is this CWP about? It's actually a platform as a service to help government agency simplify the management of their websites. So to manage and secure their websites, right, the government agencies has literally really have to do 15 different things. And they had to buy 20 different softwares, and then they piece everything together. And then there is this constant battle against the security vulnerabilities that is always changing. So first, in 2016, we actually provide the platform in which we combine these 50 different things, 20 different softwares together to form a service. So that with one click of the button, the customer can just launch a website very easily. So in a more recent version, I'm sure you heard about CI/CD.
Sorry, I'm not sure. Could you elaborate?
Yeah, so continuous integration and continuous delivery. And so that's something that a lot of like organizations are going into, because right, they are sick and tired of just deploying one file and having to cut and paste everything. So they wanted to use the cloud to build this pipeline called the CI/CD pipeline, in which with the click of button, they can actually just deploy. But however, to actually really do that, right, you really need a super DevSecOps guy or a team of DevSecOps engineers to really do that. And for each application, you have to build one pipeline just to cater for the applications. When there are a variety of like applications, well, then you have to build a variety of different like pipelines. And so it is a very beautiful solution. It's one of the great innovation, but to use it is problematic. So how does Xtremax tackle that problem? So when we look at it, right, it is great. We have to use it, but how do we use it? So we actually built a CI/CD platform instead of just using the service on its own.
Okay.
And we enable customers without a team of DevSecOps engineers to come in with their files. Just bring your files, click one button, the platform will take care of it. Whichever forms your websites
And
are.
so that's going to really accelerate deployment.
Yes, just instantly in 3 seconds, your website will be up. And that's how a company like us can handle hundreds of websites for the Singapore government.
Now, looking ahead, what are some of the key trends that you're seeing in the rest of 2023, 2024?
I think a lot of conversation that we have right now with commercial organizations and government is that, right? For governments, they are looking at the Singapore government model and they are saying, how do I actually really do that? How do I actually let digital transformation lead my country? And then for the commercial organizations, because they have already gone to cloud. So they have gone to cloud without the city planner that I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And now they are facing, oh, okay, I got traffic jam here. And you know, my supermarket is actually not very near the residential buildings I've just built. What should I do now? And then they look at the Singapore government, the GCC platform that we built, the cloud platform that we built, and they say, okay, how can you solve that problem for me? So for some people, we are really going back to the planning stage and setting up a platform, a central platform, so that they can actually solve a lot of the key problems that they have right now, because digital transformation is not at the speed that they actually wanted. And then for the government, they have not gone there yet. And they are like, okay, I'm going to do this, but what is the right model to use? And Singapore government seems to have the right model, and Xtremax has done that. Can you come in? Then we said, of course, we can come in and share all the stories and all the learning so that you don't have to, you can skip 5 years.
Yes.
And start at the point where the Singapore government is at right now. So I think cloud is still going to be the innovation, a great innovation tool for all of us. But the way that we use it will make a great difference. And AI that we have been so enamored about in the last 1 year is actually part of the cloud service. So AI and cloud cannot be separated. You have to use them together. And just like the case that I've explained in the MOH, the Ministry of Health.
Now, Denise, it's been a fascinating conversation. I really learned a lot and enjoyed this conversation. But before we leave, any final thoughts you'd like to leave the audience with?
Another very deep question. But this morning, I was reading David Deutsch's book, The Beginning of Infinity, and maybe I'll refer to one of his thinking. He said that knowledge is not acquired, but created. Knowledge is not something that you go out there and read something and then you acquire them, but it's actually created. So when I look at how Xtremax look at problems, we have never really gone out there to take a very templated solution. We do when we are solving problems that are quite universal and basic, but that does not happen very often. Right? Problems are most often very, very unique. So we iterate, we revise, and we created our own knowledge of how organization and government should go to cloud. And I think that's going to take us, we are going to continue to do that because that's our unique way of solving problems for our client.
Denise, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Brian.
Now, we've been speaking to Denise Kee. She's the Chief Executive Officer of Xtremax. I'm Brian Fernandez, and you've been watching and listening to Biztechs C-Suite Conversation Show. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.